Hello.
Hey Meg, it's Sean.
Hi, Sean.
Hey,
How are you?
I'm not doing too good. I'm feeling pretty sick today.
Oh, sorry.
Not your fault. You've been dealing with it too.
Yeah. You have a cough or cold?
I got a cold.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, we got lucky today. The guy that I'm staying with, um, he he doesn't really understand the sensory overload thing, so he's constantly got the TV blaring, and then he's got a streaming video on his iPhone on top of that, and then he was also he went to work today, which he hasn't been able to work in over a month. So I'm not overwhelmed like I am when there's a lot of stuff going on in the background. So I'm able to actually talk right now.
That's good. Yeah. Oh, okay. So I wanted to figure out how we can get the paperwork for. Hang on one second. How we can get the paperwork for that we need for Social Security. And so it started to dawn on me that I kind of remembered you talking about warrants. So I don't want to make calls that may cause more problems.
They're non-extraditable.
Okay.
Um, but the thing is that this all happened over a rumor in Virginia that got out of hand. I grew up in the foster care system, so my parents don't really care. Um, I come from a long line of drug dealers and child molesters, so me and my family don't get along anyway because I'm very outspoken about drugs and also about child molesters. Especially since I grew up in the system being molested and because my parents wouldn't stay off the drugs.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you were in Laramie and you were in Arapahoe, right?
Yes. Well, see, I was assaulted in all of those locations, actually. They transferred me from Boulder County to Arapahoe County and from Arapahoe County to Larimer County. I was assaulted in all three locations on multiple occasions. Well, not entirely true. In Larimer County, I was only assaulted once.
Okay. By law enforcement.
Yes.
Okay.
When Natalie was killed, I'd been trying to get law enforcement to take a report for over a year. Here in Chapel, Nebraska, and in Boulder, Colorado, I'd also tried to get them to take a report in Chesapeake, Virginia, which is where I was the last time I saw Natalie. Law enforcement just wouldn't do their jobs, and I got public pretenders, and they wouldn't do their jobs. I got a lot of the statistics and everything like that show that people like me are the most victimized people in America, but they plastered my name all over the news and all over the media, and her family took part in threatening and harassing me across the board. Police wouldn't do anything about it, and after her death, they did everything in their power to hide the fact that they didn't do their jobs. A lot of my friends and family were justifiably afraid to come forward. I do have a few people that are not afraid to come forward. The problem is that without an advocate and without somebody to go in with me, the police have treated me like hell. I've even gone to the FBI on. I've called the FBI over 100 times just this year alone.
So I'm trying to figure out how to. Well, there's several things we still need to, and then there's also kind of advocating for other things that we're still going to work on. So I don't want you to feel like we're not going to work on all those things because we are.
Well, you were training. You were training law enforcement the week before last. Last week you were also training law enforcement and you were sick. This week you've been sick. I keep up on what people are up to. A lot of that is because the police, they tend to slander my name, and also they tend to slander other people that I've been in contact with and do everything in their power to prevent me from being in contact with them. So right now, a lot of people don't understand. They don't understand that moving around a lot is really bad for me. They don't understand that without my disability money, I can't function. They also don't understand that when you're autistic, people don't listen to you, especially when you're intelligent, because then you have a double whammy. You're autistic, so they can use that to prevent you from making a report, and they basically treat you like you're schizophrenic. And because you're intelligent, when it comes time to have court, they tell you that you're smart, so you should be able to figure it out.
Right, right. That's a real double-edged sword, I know. And so to get, so you, when you said Boulder County, was that the first place you were at? I didn't catch the first word.
Yes, ma'am, Boulder County.
In Colorado?
Yes, ma'am. If you look up the name Natalie Bollinger, you'll get to see a lot of slander that I was never allowed to defend myself against. And I've been trying to get police to look at the threats, harassment, and assault that I've endured by the Bollinger family. And also the fact that without an advocate, there was nothing that I could do because my family doesn't care.
Yeah, yeah. So you went from Boulder to Arapahoe, Nebraska?
No, this was all in Colorado. Boulder County, Colorado to Arapahoe County, Colorado to Larimer County, Colorado.
Okay.
The threats, harassment, and assault by the police, because I was actually, right after Natalie was killed, I had been assaulted about 15 times in about a week's time. I didn't have a safe place because of Natalie's death. The people that I was staying with, their names are Ken Wilson and Leah Plunkett, and they had stolen all of my disability money before Natalie was killed. And they used Natalie's death as an excuse to kick me out and to basically justify their theft of all of my money. And I wasn't able to leave the state. I needed to get, I was trying to help find Natalie's killer. The police had outright lied to me. I told them when I went in that I needed an advocate. I explained to them, and the lady that was trying to help me, her name is Kayla Trujillo. She had explained to him, you have to talk to me one-on-one. You can't, you know, have two people talking at once, and stuff like that. Stuff that's pretty basic for somebody who's autistic. And these people are supposed to be trained in this, so they took full advantage of it. And the problem is that I was made homeless because of Natalie's death. And because of that, they were using the public bias against homeless people to justify the things that they were doing. I mean, her death was. I had people threatening my life from countries I've never even heard of within hours of her dying or of her disappearing. And the thing is, I couldn't get any officer, any lawyer to take a look at it. They kept on telling me, well, you're mentally ill. We can't take your report unless someone comes in with you. And I tried explaining that to people. I already knew that that's the way that it was. And they just violated my rights across the board.
Yeah.
A lot of these people, they're mad at me. A lot of the people that were involved in it are mad at me because after a year of trying to force the police to do their jobs without somebody going in with me, without an advocate, through extreme quantities of abuse and threats, I finally had to break the law in order to try to force the police to take a look, and force the FBI to take a look, and they didn't. They didn't record it. They turned off their body cameras. I got a lot of recordings of conversations when I got out of jail. I got recordings of conversations with people of the things that they should have been allowed to present in court, that they should have been allowed to say in court, the things that I was prevented from being able to do, and a lot of that stuff. But they also got mad because I recorded those things, and I understand. I understand why it is that they're upset, but they also need to understand that I was railroaded because
Yeah.
those things weren't allowed in court.
Yeah. Yeah. So then, did they end up prosecuting you for something for that you spent that jail time?
Ma'am, any of the witnesses refused to look at any of the evidence. I got a lot of people that were aware of what was going on, but the police just wouldn't listen. And a lot of people who are witnesses to what went on with my public pretenders, and like Steve Tomlinson and a man named Graham, and Kayla Trujillo. A lot of these people, they just, because they didn't understand, they weren't listening. They were busy telling me how to think and how to feel, and I'm like, hey, you guys really need to listen. This is not the same thing as when you go to court.
Yeah. Yeah. So if I'm just trying to decide if I start calling these counties and trying to get this paperwork from them, I just wanted to be as prepared as possible before I call. Of course, I won't share anything other than I just need the proper paperwork of your dismissal. Those documents that you can get back on your feet and you can get your SSI back.
Yes, ma'am.
And so, do you have, I assume that I can talk to them by just using your name and the dates. And so, is it acceptable to you that I call those counties and try to start?
The thing is, I should have had a power of attorney since before Natalie was killed. I mean, I should have had somebody with power of attorney when I turned 18. And yeah. I just kept on falling through the cracks. There's a woman who used to work with Region 1 named Tamara. I don't know her last name, but her son has Asperger's, so she was familiar with it. And she was the last person that was actually useful. She knew what was up. She was Johnny on the spot about it. But after hearing my story and everything that happened before Natalie died, because she quit there before Natalie was killed. She quit her job to make sure that the things that happened to me didn't happen to her son.
Yeah. So, are you okay with me calling those counties and trying to get this paperwork from them?
Absolutely. You are free to do anything that you need to, any releases of paperwork that you have that you might need. You can, I don't even know who to have you send them to. Like, I know that the Dual County Sheriff's Department are the ones that hooked me up with you. It was a Deputy Fisher, but the thing is that the Dual County Sheriff's Department has been involved in this. And before Natalie was killed, I interacted with them on multiple occasions about the threats, harassment, and assaults. And after her death, they did everything in their power to try to cover up their wrongdoing. I've also got conversations with them documented.
Yeah. Maybe if I talk to the officer who reached out to us to get help you said he's fairly new.
Yep. Right? There's 3 different deputies that are new that might be willing to help or might actually do their jobs. That's Deputy Holloway, Deputy Fisher. I don't know the third officer's name, but that's the thing is when I'm stressed out, I try explaining to them, the first thing I forget is names and numbers. So phone numbers I forget, exact dates I forget, things like that. And like I've literally been through over 3 years of hell over this. There's a lot of witnesses. One of them, her name is Rand Ingersoll, and she's willing to come forward. The thing is that they pushed me to the point of being suicidal.
Yeah.
The police did. There's witnesses that, you know, they were not doing the right thing at the time, and they're willing to come forward about that. And I've got 4 of them that are willing to speak up. One of the ladies here in town, her name's Laura Nelson, and she is afraid of being retaliated against. The thing is that my friend who died, her dad's a child molester and a drug dealer, and he did some very nasty things to her, and he did some very nasty things to me after she died. I exposed him for being a child molester, for beating on his daughter, things of that nature. For over a year before she was killed, I was trying to get an advocate. I went to over 20 therapy appointments easily. I was seeing multiple therapists. I was going to see all of the people that I was told that I needed to see. I even relocated from Nebraska to Colorado so that I could try to all of the places that everybody here in Nebraska were telling me to go to is all along the Front Range.
Yeah. Yeah. So, do you know what the warrant is for that they can't extradite you for?
Warrants, actually, there's multiple.
Okay. And they've not tried to get you to appear for that, or?
No, but the thing is that none of those warrants ever should have existed.
Gotcha.
I was assaulted repeatedly, but they used the term mentally ill as their excuse for doing the things that they did. Clearview was one of the places that I was put into, and I tried speaking out about what had happened, and I just got treated like I was a liar. And then a few months later, they literally killed a man doing exactly what it is that people called me a liar for saying that this place was doing. If you look up Clearview Behavioral Health on YouTube, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. There was also one of the officers that assaulted me. His name was Waylon Lolatai, and he was let go of the Denver Police Department for assault, and Boulder Police Department hired him on. And I spoke out about him, and over the course of 2018, he assaulted an additional 6 people. Then when I was put into Boulder County in August of 2018, the officers in the jail took part in hazing and harassing me, and assaulting me on multiple occasions during a 4-day period, lying to me, lying to the courts. And there's a lot of witnesses to this. Just they wouldn't listen to any of the witnesses, and I couldn't get them to go in with me because none of them understood how the label of mentally ill works. But 2 of those officers killed a man just a couple of months later. If you look up the name Demetrius Shankling, you'll see what I'm talking about there. The thing is that the media didn't care. The way that I was pegged after Natalie was killed, the police did everything in their power to prevent me from being able to speak, to prevent me from showing evidence. They made me a target for the public, and I have remained a target for the public ever since. I was literally hit in the head over 100 times in 2018. I was assaulted 15 times at least within the first couple of weeks of Natalie being killed.
That was at Clearview?
That wasn't just at Clearview. At Clearview, I was assaulted video, and they only uh, allowed half of the video to be seen by police, and it's the half after the initial assault where they were assaulting me. I was trying to hide under a mattress to prevent them from assaulting me and to prevent them from putting their drugs in my system. I explained to them repeatedly not to put those drugs in my system because I turned into a big green man. You won't like me when I'm on those medications. And they injected me with those medications anyway without a doctor present. Um, I mean, literally every step of the way, I've been trying to get a police officer to take my report. And because I didn't have an advocate to go in with me, they did whatever they wanted. And Boulder County especially is well known for this.
Wow.
Anyway, a lot of people treat me like I'm bullshitting them, but I'm not. If you look up Clearview Behavioral Health, Officer Waylon Lolatai, and the name Demetrius Shankling, you'll see what I'm talking about.
Okay. All right. Well, I think what I'll do is I'll start by calling uh, the sheriff's office and get some advice about talking to agencies outside of the state. And if that doesn't get me anywhere, then I'll call those counties' jail systems and see how I can get the documents we need, and then figure out how to proceed from there.
Yes, ma'am.
Like that's our only block from getting your money back. Things I'm going to try today and tomorrow. And then I'll call you back or I'll text you back if I need any other information, and then see how we get from there. So thanks for calling me, and I'll get on that today.
Well, calling you is about the only way to communicate effectively. I've tried the whole texting and typing thing. People take things completely wrong because they can't hear my vocal tone, and I literally had to spend years in front of a mirror practicing to be able to speak like a normal person, if you want to call it that.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
They call it masking and mirroring, but that's something that it's difficult for me to explain to most people because they expect me to just be normal and expect me to just be like that all the time, and it's physically and emotionally draining to try to do that all the time. And in addition, I also have Tourette syndrome, and I have to control that at all points in time, and it makes it difficult to manage.
Yeah, so that's exhausting as well.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I do understand that very well.
See, that's the thing about having an advocate, is that the whole time, if somebody would have just been able to explain it to them and been there present to prevent them from walking all over me, things would have been a lot different.
Right. Well, I guess that day's come now, and so hopefully going forward, we'll be able to work together to kind of get things turned back around to where you can be independent and healthy, and kind of start to be able to build and be kind of heal. So
exactly. See, all of the stuff that I've been speaking out about. I mean, it's like you already are aware and you already know. I mean, that's the thing, is that a lot of these places in Boulder, the officers are actually trained with people who are autistic. The thing is, when you're a homeless autistic person, it's a completely different scenario. You're free money.
Yeah.
Also, I've been speaking out against Boulder Police Department for over a decade because they've killed quite a few of my friends.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna go and get started. I've got a couple hours of work to do. Plus, I'm gonna take some time to start these calls now because I don't want to wait. But I'll text you or call you back, or we'll set up another call. Hopefully by tomorrow I'll have some information.
Yes, ma'am. Is it right if I text you the numbers to a few of those people? Not expecting you to call them, but if you are able to do so, some of them can explain, so that you're not just taking my word for it.
Sure, that's fine.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah. Okay. Well, hopefully I'll be getting back to you tomorrow with something. Anyway, at least some kind of progress.
Thank you, Meg.
Okay. You bet. Talk to you later.
You too. Be safe.
Bye.
Bye. You see how much different that is? You see how much different it is when you've got somebody who understands? Somebody who doesn't expect you to just magically make it go away? I just needed the cops to do their jobs, but I have to be afraid to go in to talk to the cops. Natalie would still be alive today if she understood. The cops are much nicer when they're being recorded, and they're much nicer when you have someone go in with you. The way that they treat you when you go in there by yourself is fucking hell. Especially when they know they fucked up. All these people that are mad at me, like Miss Peaches and Aaron Cockerham and all these other people, they're angry at me because they don't understand. They didn't understand that you have to go in with me. And the longer it takes you to do that, the more harm is brought upon me. And the more harm is brought upon me, the more fucked up my head gets. The more I have to move, the more I have to stay with alcoholics and meth heads and I love these people. I really do. I love Miss Peaches, and I love Brett Roloff, and I love Rand Ingersoll. I love Amy Spencer. With her meth addiction. I mean, I understand. When I quit drinking, it wasn't easy. It hurt. I went to an AA meeting in 2001, and I listened to those fucking whiners bitching over and over and over again. I was like, fuck no, I'm not drinking again. I'm not coming back to one of these fucking meetings. Holy shit. But I don't have any kids too, so there's things that I can do that parents can't. My dad didn't understand that I needed help with this stuff. He was too busy yelling at me. Shannon Alvarado was too busy yelling at her boyfriend. And I didn't want to post any of this on the fucking internet. That's the thing, is that my entire life I've had to deal with this, not had an advocate, didn't have parents who cared or understood, wanted to assume the worst in me no matter what. Chris Stegeman, he was talking to me about how Eric could get away with murder, and I was not allowed to do anything. He's right. I wasn't. And I wasn't a bad kid. I didn't do fucked up shit. I got into 2 fights here, and they weren't really fights. I mean, when I got into the fight with Zach Metcalf, he didn't know how to fight. He'd never been in a fight before. He just thought he was twice my size, so he'd win. And it, fuck no. No, I grew up fighting. And then there was a guy named Dusty Mitchell, and he thought it would be okay to shove me into a table. And he was a lot taller than me. Every time he came in with a swing to try to punch me in the face, I'd kick him in the head. So Phil McPhee and the teacher, Mr. Graves, they each grabbed me by an arm and threw me all the way across the wood shop. I was pretty small, you know. It was pretty easy for him to do. Phil McPhee was a weightlifter, and Mr. Graves had been a carpenter for quite a while. I mean, they weren't little dudes. But that was it, and I didn't want either one of those fights. I wasn't interested in either one of those fights. The fight with Zach Metcalf was over the sheriff of Haxton, Colorado's son, Michael McBee. He he pulled my best friend's sister out of her car by her hair. And then she got back with him, and it just so happened that Zach had been bullying me for a while, and it was after a Veterans Day assembly, and that was just his excuse. He thought he was in love with Kim. Now, Kim was my best friend for a while there, but I had a crush on Alyssa Derry, not Kim. People make a lot of bad assumptions, and they make bad decisions based on bad assumptions. People made those same bad assumptions about Natalie, and I was never allowed to show the evidence in court. See, the things that I spent months and months trying to teach Miss Peaches about, this lady already understands them. That's the thing about advocates, that they understand. They can go in with you and help to protect your rights. And it's a lot easier to find those people along the front range, but you also have to go through the whole diagnosis process, which is just a giant pain in the ass. And I wanted to get a second opinion, and I don't want to love these people. I don't want to love them, because if I didn't love them, they couldn't hurt me. If I didn't love them, the getting thrown away wouldn't hurt. And they threw me away because they didn't understand. I never should have had to record those people. I never should have had to do that. Miss Peaches It would have been wonderful if she'd gone with me in person, but she didn't. The Bollingers had all sorts of help. Ted rapes her and they helped him. They paid him thousands of dollars to go on vacation. These people protected each other from their own wrongdoing. Nobody protected me. I just had to take it. No matter where I went, people telling me, you need to do this, you need to do that, you need to feel like this, you need to feel like that. So there's a guy here in town, he wants me to draw some pictures. I don't even know if my head will work to be able to do that. Uh, I didn't ask for it. I was trying to get them to quit. I was trying to get them to call off the dogs. I was being treated like I was a Ted Bollinger, and I'm not. Every law I broke was to try to force the cops to do their jobs because I didn't have an advocate. No, it's not a crack pipe. No, it's not a marijuana pipe. I take my cigarette butts out of the ashtray and I do that. I needed help getting my disability back. I didn't need people to treat me like shit because they didn't help me get my disability back. So then they threw it in my face that they did this and they did that. Like, I know you did, and I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for the food, but that's not the help I needed. That's not the help that you promised. A lot of these people did really fucked up shit that I was staying with. They didn't understand that the noise is going to shut me down. There isn't a goddamn thing I can do about it. Medications don't help with it. They never have. Medications don't stop the abuse. Medications don't get me a roof over my head or a mailbox. They don't get me a non screaming environment. They don't make it so I can see my friends and loved ones. Anybody who's listened to those videos between me and Miss Peaches, me and Mandy Hughes, me and Alyssa Rainwater, me and Brenda Dickinson, me and Rihanna Ingersoll, if those things had been allowed in court, there would have been a different outcome. Officers would have been going to jail. The Bollingers would have been going to jail. Alicia might actually be clean. Even Rand will admit that while I was there in Wyoming, I was protecting Amy's kids. She knows Lana and Amanda. She knows Jamie Curtis. She knows the fucked up shit that Jamie's done. Most of her, well, ever since she got her braces off. Before that, she wasn't pretty like everybody expects. She had a big gap between her teeth. Chris Stegman knows a lot about that too. He'll be honest about it. I was abused for trying to tell the truth, and that's the fucked up part. I never should have had to break the law. But I didn't have somebody like her who understood.